and you are. We are Citizen Outbreak. Welcome to the podcast.
Okay. All right. Welcome to our first podcast, the Citizen Outbreak podcast. I'm Rudy, and this is Matthew. Matthew, say hello.
I am Matthew.
So Matthew and I created a game called Citizen Outbreak. You can visit us at citizenoutbreak.com. The game is basically about things that happened in the last couple of years, predominantly during the pandemic. And now we decided to do a podcast, and well, we hope you enjoyed it. And it's called Citizen Outbreak, the podcast. And welcome. So, Matthew, how you doing today?
Doing great, Rudy. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. I'm very angry. But besides the point, you know. All right, let's get into it.
Go.
So the first topic I'd like to discuss is, unfortunately, you know, it's in the news. We got to talk about it. Lives were lost, and we're going to talk about the several two plane crashes with the lives lost the last couple days. The first one being the plane crash in D.C. with the Black Hawk helicopter. Lots of lives lost. We had figure skaters lost. We have military lives lost, unfortunately. And then we had a crash last night, which, did you see the video?
I saw the video. It was crazy.
To me, when I looked at it, so this crash that happened last night was a medevac private plane that crashed in Philadelphia.
Like right on the interstate, right?
It crashed into what it looked like a strip mall.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Okay, it was nuts. But when I looked at it from that video, that I'm sure it's the same video that you saw, it looked like a missile. It didn't look like a plane. Now, of course, you know look. They said it's a jet, so the news reports it's a jet. It's a jet, but.
Right.
The whole thing is, when you look at the video, it looked like the pilot just went torpedo down.
Yeah,
Kamikaze.
That's
So,
crazy.
so if there was okay, first things first. The plane, from what I understand, took off, and the reason why it was returning was for fueling purposes. Now, I could be wrong, but this is what I read this morning. If you took off, you have plenty of fuel. Why turn around? Why come back? That's number one. Number two, you know me, and I know you're the same way. I'm terrified of flying. I hate flying. The slightest little bump bugs me out.
Yeah.
So my paranoia is, unfortunately, I watch all these plane crash videos to make sure that, hey, I'm going to be okay in case the plane crashes, which probably I won't. But, mentally, I'm trying to talk myself into it. But I've watched many, many hundreds of videos of plane crashes. Okay?
Yeah.
The sick man that I am.
Yeah.
I've never
that
seen,
paranoia.
I've never seen somebody drop
That
the
angle.
plane and that fast, that angle and that fast.
Except like in World War II.
Kamikaze.
Right.
Yeah. It boggles my mind. Like, if there was some kind of error or pilot error or
Did you hear
some,
the recording on the thing?
yeah, I heard the recording. You want to talk about the recording?
I mean, I clicked on one thing on X and I saw some conversation, one thread about like these fuckers are gonna, what was it, like they're gonna fucking know me or something?
No, these I think they said these fuckers don't know who they're messing with.
Something like that, right? I don't know. I think it was the third, right? Because you also had that plane, that fighter pilot.
Hold on. They are fucking with the wrong people.
Right.
And
I mean, we don't know. I don't know what that is, but the video looks strange.
oh, okay. So community notes on X says the transmission at 50.56, which some people claim include a suspicious phrase, is not from the plane that crashed, but a request for clearance from N6098F, a Piper PA-28 that was coming in to land on runway 24 at the same time. So that recording was not from that plane. So let's take that out.
Okay.
But like I was saying before, pilot error.
You know, I think, yeah.
I just don't know.
I mean, what I think is interesting about this, obviously the tragedy that happened in DC. If you think about how these things happened when we were younger, right now everything's in real time, and you get like what you just read. Twitter like jumps on things, right? And then you have this this kind of campaign that's almost immediate. Bill Ackman, right, when he saw the Black Hawk making that straight line across the sky into the American Airlines flight,
Right.
he tweeted what anybody that's going to look at that is going to think is, please somebody tell me how this is not an intentional act. You've got a very sophisticated piece of machinery going in, blah blah blah. He was immediately called a conspiracy theorist by the New York Post, right? They came out with an article about how this is, and it's like when they drop that word early, right? It's like because you have this pressure, I guess, to get control of the narrative, and it's like it's funny because you have them with the crash in Philadelphia. It's like with that, and he took his tweet down. Right, you got scared off by I guess being labeled a conspiracy theorist, and then after watching more angles, put it back up and said, "Look, I don't get what's going on here. Somebody explain it to me," which I still don't.
I mean, he's not a conspiracy theorist. He has questions.
Right.
We all have questions.
that's what I'm
But
saying.
why are you all of a sudden a conspiracy theorist because you have questions?
Right, and to me, that's the biggest tell when any of this stuff happens. They launch that word to shut down critical thinking and to get control of the narrative. And it's like, within 24 hours.
Right. So here are the questions. Okay. First flight, Philadelphia, that we were discussing. The plane, at the speed, it was nosediving. That's the first why. Second, the DC tragic accident with the Black Hawk hitting the American Airlines plane. That the question is, if you're military personnel, you are the top, probably the top, right? Like, okay, yes, there's issues with, weather, if there's weather related or there's something in the cockpit that, doesn't work, but you're trained to fly, maneuver up, down in whatever type circumstance, wherever, okay? This was a clear night. No bad weather. I don't think there was anything that happened in the cockpit that would, malfunction or anything, right? It was a direct hit into the plane. Now, the pilot of the American Airlines, it's not their fault because they didn't see. It came from the side. The Black Hawk hit them from the side. So it's not like they saw something coming. That's one or two questions right there. Then what was going on in the radio tower? Okay,
Right.
There's a lot of questions about the radio tower.
Right.
There was originally two people working there manning it. Then somebody said, "Oh, go home." There was one person left. Was there somebody who's not supposed to be working there, who's not qualified? Was it a DEI hire, and maybe they didn't know what they were doing. The Reagan Airport is notorious for almost accidents,
Right, they had
slight
one
misses.
the night before. There was
Every day.
plane
Every
had to
day.
pull back.
Every day.
And
It's
I
a tight airport.
And I saw one kind of response again on Twitter. It was actually Ackman again, I guess he was trying to prove he wasn't a conspiracy theorist and talked about a conversation he had with a professional Black Hawk pilot who walked him through that these pilots run these types of missions into congestion areas because if you do have to evacuate, VIP personnel like the president or somebody like that, and you got to go, they do some training ops like this into, hairy areas like that, which is kind of, but again, it's like, and you see that they're not releasing the name of the pilot, right?
They're not releasing the name of the female pilot.
Right.
I
don't know why.
I think they will.
We'll see.
I think this administration will release it. I think it's just I think we'll get it today.
I mean, you remember what I put into this kind of bucket. You remember that boat in Baltimore taking down the bridge?
The boat, yeah.
I mean, they were. I looked at footage. Somebody put up footage of that yesterday or something. We never really.
We still don't know what happened.
We don't know what happened. And similarly, it's something where if you watch that film, that boat takes right, left, and goes right into that spot, the vulnerable spot of the bridge. And it's like, and then they tell us why, the unsophisticated person that doesn't know all the thing about, ports. And look, this helicopter had a 2 football fields. I don't know how many yards out it was when it was going right into the approach lane. And it's just tough to understand because it's a clear night. The pilots can look out the window. It's like, look ahead.
If you're a pilot and you are a Black Hawk pilot, now I'm not, but I would think that if you're looking in front of you, some people say maybe they had night vision goggles and the lights and they couldn't see it. I don't care. You're a Black Hawk pilot and you're flying that thing. Within a couple feet, you should be able to turn up, turn down, turn sideways, dip, whatever, to get out of the way.
Look, I think
it's a helicopter. It goes up and down.
The exactly. I mean, look, I don't know. Look ahead. You've got 300 yards going in. We see a lot of planes going that way, but it's like immediately after these things happen, narratives are jumped on. So you've got the DEI thing. And immediately we're told if anybody thinks that this is intentional, you're a conspiracy theorist. And then half the people, and now it's like Trump's insensitive because he's talking about DEI hiring. They won't release the name, but you're still a conspiracy theorist if you think that's weird. So it's like, and then what ends up happening, and you mentioned the game is something happens tomorrow, God forbid another, but something crazy comes up, and this topic just kind of gets left behind, and we don't end up finding out really what happened.
The next news cycle comes, and then you're not talking about what happened, and then those questions that you have because you're a conspiracy theorist,
right?
They're not answered,
right? And it's pretty. To me, it's like a lot of the time the simplest answer is kind of the simplest questions. That helicopter is going straight into that approach lane. And
going straight.
I listened to some or read some explanations, but none of them really satisfy me in terms of I don't know. And then whenever I see the word conspiracy theorist come out that soon, I'm like something's going on.
Yeah, but does the Black, because I don't know, does it have a black box that records?
I think they do, but I don't know exactly what's been released, what's not. I don't know, and I've seen a lot of different explanations from supposed pilots and experts about what could have forced it. But again, there's like just so many different people in the room, kind of offering.
Was the Black Hawk talking to the radio tower?
I don't know. I what I saw was that everything happened too late. But I haven't seen there's just so much noise about the different parts of it and not really to the heart of it, which is, what the hell happened?
It's bizarre.
Yeah.
It's bizarre. And when you look at the videos, you just like, it could have been avoided.
You'd think,
it could have been avoided.
You would think. I mean, I haven't heard a great. The news has gotten. The news has gotten focused on Trump's insensitivity, and the DEI narrative. That's where this whole thing is like focused now. Again, and then just I haven't seen anything that really explains it, like an interesting dissection of what happened. Maybe it's too soon, but I don't know what I don't know what happened. I haven't seen anything informative yet.
What do you think's going to come out of this? Do you think anything's going to come out of it? Do you
I think it'll move on to the next.
we're just going to move
We're
on?
gonna move on. I mean, that bridge that came down in Baltimore is like a huge, pretty big deal. I have no idea. They never. All I know is that you're a conspiracy theorist if you think anything happened, and it's gone. Now I know insurance companies took a big hit, but but there's nothing. You don't see anything about that, right? And,
Yeah.
So my confidence level that we'll get a lot of transparency on this is low.
Right. It's tragic. All right. Let's go on to the next topic, which is a fun one.
Yeah.
What does my hat say?
I don't have my glasses on.
It says hasta mañana.
Hasta mañana.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you know why it says hasta mañana?
Why does it say hasta mañana?
Because the illegals are getting booted out of here. Hasta mañana. But it's not going to be hasta mañana because they're not coming back.
Yeah.
No. All jokes aside, the big news is Trump is, cleaning house. He's deporting at a fast and furious pace.
Yeah.
Let's see. He's got
Selena Gomez is really torn up.
Selena Gomez is very, very upset. Hold on a second. I will tell you right now. He has, in the past 9 days, he's gotten rid of 7,400 illegals.
Wow.
All right. Now, first, you had some pushback from Mexico. You had some pushback from Colombia, Venezuela. Remember the whole thing with Colombia?
Yeah.
It was a whole, we're going to tariff you. We're going to put this tax on you. And the Colombian president said, no, we're going to do that to you.
It was like 4 a.m. in the morning. He shot off a tweet.
Yeah. And then the Colombian.
No, a Colombian guy shot it off over a tweet supposedly after accepting, and then shot a tweet saying, we're not gonna. And then Trump was on the golf course and shot his back.
Right. Well, and then they came out and said, well, they shouldn't be in shackles, and there should be more human type, humanely type deportations being done. They shouldn't be shackled and imprisoned and then dumped on our doorstep. Yeah. So, I mean, they're illegals. They're criminals. Mm-hmm. Most of them are tough, bad hombres.
Yeah.
And what are you not going to shackle them? Mm. They could get up and attack the pilot.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And then he turns around and says, you know what? I'll send the presidential plane.
Is that what he said?
Yeah. So he sends the presidential plane over here to pick them up.
To pick up criminals.
Yeah. Probably gave him some lobster. It's Colombia. Maybe some Coke, allegedly. And who knows what else. But listen, okay. The one thing that I have to say is I don't agree with every illegal being deported. I think we should, yes, it's illegal to come over the border, right? They're here illegally. But if you're looking for, listen, this is the land, America. You want to be in America. This is the #1 country. You want to be here. You have to, do it the right way. But some of these illegals came here looking for a better life. Not all of them are criminals. Go after the criminals. Get rid of the criminals. The ones that are not criminals, maybe get them some kind of papers, some kind of path
Well, where we've gotten to is so crazy because, this debate, right? This issue used to be as recently as like when Obama was running for office and in office. It was illegal immigration and border security, where that debate was kind of in a tight lane. There were questions about segments of that population and what to do with them because of you know them being here, whether they had children here, and the Dreamers and all that. And there were debates over that, but where the message has gone, from the left now and from the kind of the state media is where it's gone to is like just this open border policy of, which is exactly what it is, right? They introduced the word migrant a couple years ago somewhere, and I'd love to see somebody really understand like how does that happen. But they introduced the word migrant to replace illegal alien, to conflate legal and illegal immigration into one thing, because, like you said, now you're anti-immigration. They've conflated it. They've combined illegal and legal into one term. You're now not an illegal or illegal. You're just a migrant, and nobody wants to be anti-immigration, right? No politician can be up there and say I'm against migrants. So they're trying to. They have succeeded in forcing that word into the lexicon. Thankfully, there are people now. Trump is back in the room taking up oxygen, and he's using different terms trying to separate that. But the reality is, they're not going to get rid of 20 million or whatever. They're not going to mass deport all these people. It's just not going to happen. I think the messaging though, and the optics are very important, right? Like you're talking about, sending the criminals back, the people that have really committed violent crimes, and letting it be understood like we're ratcheting up this border. Now we're taking it seriously. We're getting rid of things like catch and release, and it's no longer open border, which really that's been the message for the past 4 years, which is crazy. And how fast like anybody, it's like, they get anybody to attach it to it, like the news, because it's just gotten so crazy. So I think bringing it back into some kind of realistic and centered position. No other country in the world. I mean, you can't just go across borders anywhere else. No other country in the world has a open border
what do you mean?
policy.
They're doing it in Europe.
Well, they because of open border policy put in by with Obama and with Merkel, they flooded Europe, but none of and those countries are falling. They're one by one they're falling apart, right?
Right.
They're suffering from it. France suffered, from their but I mean, there's no other country in the world that just says come.
Well, a couple things is one, we're paying a price for all these illegals.
Absolutely.
So we have to pay for them. We have to house them. We have to feed them, give them free phones.
Absolutely.
And all this takes a toll. Now, back to where I was saying about, some of them are bad. Some, that you keep the good ones. The good ones that if you keep them and they come forward and they say, hey, listen, I want to stay. I'm good. It's actually beneficial because those are undocumented. They're not paying taxes. Where the government's not getting that money. Okay. So that if there's a vehicle where they become documented illegals and that they pay the taxes, that's a win for the United States because then we're able to collect money. It gives them a path. Now, the illegals who are criminals, get them the fuck out of here. Did you see today that Venezuela, Maduro, already said, listen, I'm sending a plane. We're going to get all the criminals, illegals that are Venezuelan. We're going to bring them back. He's sending a plane. I don't know if it's the presidential plane, but he's sending a plane to pick up what are they? The Trey.
Oh, those are really bad hombres.
The Trey.
Trey Lengua.
Yeah.
Well, in New York, you've been by the Roosevelt Hotel, right?
Trey de Aragua.
Trey de Aragua.
Yeah.
So good.
Send them fuck back.
Yeah. We don't want them here.
No. But again, that was a conspiracy. that they were taking over those
Colorado?
apartment complexes.
Well, no, the Martha Raddatz lady said to JD Vance, well, it's only a couple of apartment complexes.
Yeah, only a couple of apartment complexes.
Can
Yeah,
you imagine?
yeah.
Insanity.
Okay.
These
Well,
people are crazy. But that's how far it's gone. That
It's-
they're literally that like where I mean, how did we get to a place where literally she feels like that's not that's a radical thing to say? Like she's okay with Trey Lengua taking over housing in Colorado because it's just a couple.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
insane.
The other thing is that I've noticed is Trump's using this as, negotiating tactic with the other countries.
Right.
Hey, if you're not taking them back, boom, tariff.
Right.
If you take them back, great. We're going to work with you.
Right.
Okay. And it seems that it's working. Now, to what extent is it going to work? Like, I know Mexico's been giving him pushback.
Look, well, American journalism, American, the infrastructure that's supposedly, supporting his government is giving him pushback, right? I mean, because the conversation has gone to such a crazy place, and that it has really gotten to such a crazy place where you have people in the mainstream media saying, like, it's only a couple of apartment buildings where these illegals have come in forcefully with guns and taken over, Americans' homes. That it's gotten so crazy, we need such a serious pushback to bring it back into normalcy, I think. And I think, showing the daily updates on apprehensions and returns.
Right. Well, I think we should have, like, back in when we had COVID and we had the COVID the clock with the ticker,
Right.
how many deaths we had.
Right.
I think we should have a deportation
Well,
clock.
my sister actually, she loves I think they've been doing updates. I don't know on the real time.
No, I want to see on
I'm with you. I mean,
on Fox, on
Yeah.
CNN, on NBC, all these. I want to see a ticker.
but it's amazing because it really is one of those things. It's like the last 4 years, all we heard about is how amazing the economy is despite everything. We're not open border, but everything that they've done is open border. It's a crazy conversation because you have people. It's only a few apartment complexes, So I think what he's doing, I think you really have to you got to pull back it because it's always very hard once stuff is gotten out there. It's very tough to put the toothpaste back in the tube, and we've got millions. And those like the border, I know people in Texas that tell me people that own ranches, they just threw their keys. They're talking about owning a lot of land. You had people just walking across huge caravans.
I mean, the Biden administration had an app.
Right.
The app would tell you, "Hey,
Right.
come over,
Right.
come over, type in your stuff." So they actually, if you put in your information in the app, you would think that they have your stuff. They know who you are, but somehow, when they came over here, that was it. They lost.
It's insanity. Look, you go to the Roosevelt Hotel, Midtown. Midtown, 45th and Madison. I don't know that there's a higher concentration of wealth within that radius, like in the world. And they offered the government of Pakistan owns that hotel, and the mayor offered them above market room rates to house these illegals, so free room and board. They gave them prepaid credit cards. They gave them Vespas, and you got Americans here saying, "What the hell is going on here? This is insanity." If you go by the Roosevelt Hotel, it's just crazy. So I think that is a bad. Those are bad optics. Those are bad because eventually, like in Europe, like what you said, the infrastructure will crumble under the influx of these people, and whatever CBS is okay with the number of how many housing projects they're okay with surrendering to Trey Lengua. Eventually, the infrastructure crumbles because you have so many coming in. So I think it takes blunt, strong action and real action to bring it back in.
Right. So now you have ICE is going into different states, the different cities, extracting the bad ones. Who knows who else they're taking, all the illegals. The sanctuary cities, you have Chicago, New York, San Francisco, there, Minnesota, you have them putting up a fight. They're not going to let it happen.
Right.
There's a big pushback there. So, but we've seen ICE go into those cities and run. This past week, Kristi Noem was here in New York in the Bronx.
Right.
She was taking out some bad guys.
I mean, the people that seem to have the biggest problem with it are the real limousine liberals that don't, nothing affects them, right? Because the rubber doesn't ever touch the road because it doesn't. It's all academic.
Right, but what I'm talking about are the government officials
Right.
that are pushback now.
But I'm talking about Chicago. If you see those community board meetings in Chicago, where the mayor's showing up to these communities, and the communities are just ripping him apart because all their opportunities are being soaked up. Their safety, schools, their infrastructure is being devoted to illegals that are getting benefits that they don't have. And you talk about taxes. I always look at taxes as a return on investment. What are we getting for our investment? They keep increasing taxes. They're giving prepaid credit cards and phones to illegals.
In New York, they just got this congestion toll. Okay, that money is supposed to go to the MTA for the MTA to upgrade the service, but everyone's afraid to go on the subway because of all the crime.
Well,
and
why don't
where's
they actually enforce charging fares?
Well, they can't. They put up those raised spiky things, but they're not spiky. They're sloped. So you could still go over.
Nobody pays.
But the majority of the crime supposedly is done by the illegals.
Yeah.
So you're taking money from
who are let right out, by the way, right?
Who are let right out.
Right.
Who are let right out. We're going to get to that later.
Okay.
But the whole thing is you're taking money from New Yorkers who already are paying a tax. The taxes have been raised. That money that is supposed to go to help build infrastructure and upgrade like you're talking about is now going towards housing, feeding, and whatever these illegals. And now we have the congestion price that is supposed to go and upgrade the MTA, but the MTA is not safe and nobody wants to take it. So you're telling me I can't drive. I have to go hop on the subway, risk my life. Okay, maybe not. Maybe my iPhone will get stolen. Worst case scenario, but still, I have to see this stuff. I have to look behind my back. Who knows how long it takes the subway? It's never on time.
There's just no accountability.
It's terrible. There's no accountability. The spending that the MTA does. So you're basically you're hurting us. But that money, again, just like New York and what they're doing with the illegals, it's not going to the right places. And before, when it was Cuomo, he was complaining, oh, we don't have enough money. We don't have enough money. And then Hochul comes in, Adams comes in, and then all of a sudden we don't have enough money. But yet you're paying the illegals to stay in these hotels. You're paying for their food. You're paying for the cards to give them money, phones. They're running amok. Have you seen Times Square? I mean, actually, the last couple of days, it's been actually
tax more than anything.
Well, me too. But it's insane. You go down on right by Times Square, and there's those those walkway the streets that are closed up that you can't drive on. You have to walk on. Those are filled with migrants,
right?
African migrants.
Right.
I don't know who they are. I don't know what they're doing, but they're hanging out. Maybe they're Uber Eats,
right.
DoorDash, whatever food delivery service. Pretty much, I think that's what they do. They get
the other thing, right? Just to tie it in, right, on the congestion, we're going to get rid of lanes for available traffic for cars. We're going to reduce it to really one lane during the day where you could drive. We're going to, with the bike lanes and the bus lanes, we're going to close off central arteries of the city, like Times Square, right, for traffic. Then they're not doing anything intelligent to improve the flow of traffic. They're just adding taxes, which ultimately just adds more cost onto businesses. reduces the total addressable market of customers who now have more purchasing decisions to make because everything's more expensive. With all these taxes, they take the money, they misappropriate it, and they always assume or sell it like the revenue is just going to exist in perpetuity. But it's a sad situation, and with the illegal immigration in New York and on the national scale, it's just a very dishonest conversation.
Right. Going back to the bike lanes, I was just trying to look it up because I saw it a couple days ago that City Bike actually had a crazy decrease in the amount of users.
Yeah,
Yeah. Now I don't know if that's seasonal.
I mean, New York is under 50 degrees for probably 5-6 months a year.
But I don't see people using the bike lane.
I mean, nowadays they don't enforce it. People are on the bikes on the sidewalks, right?
On the sidewalks, on the
just
street.
zipping by people. But if you're really concerned about when they created the bike lanes, the Bloomberg logic, his thesis was we are going to create more traffic by doing this, so much so that people are going to get frustrated, forget about their cars, and take bikes. And I don't think the data has shown that kind of utilization, to your point. And I also, I don't want to ride a bike in New York City, and especially not when it's 20 degrees outside. But I think it's much more important to focus on the flow of traffic. It's the world capital, it's capital of the world, financial, everything. I mean, have the free flow of commerce. So they've done everything intentionally to limit real estate available for cars to flow through.
Right. They don't want cars.
Right.
Period.
They don't want you in your car. And now the tax, it's like people are saying like, oh my God, in the first 2 weeks, look at the decrease in traffic. Talk to a restaurant owner about the decrease in traffic. He'll point out some empty tables and say, yeah, there's less traffic. My vendors are delivering less. They're costing more. They're charging me more because of the pass through on the charge that they're paying, the $24. And then I've got to increase that club sandwich that you're eating. And not every single business has that kind of elasticity with being able to increase prices. And then the people that are coming in from, going into that zone, right? You're going to take a family and you got to decide, is how many times am I going to do this trip?
Right.
Because it adds up. And so, but they point to traffic like, yippee, you reduce a little bit of the traffic, which will come back.
But originally, the whole premise was, it's climate driven.
Right,
So
bullshit.
we want to decrease the amount of cars coming in, idling, blah blah blah, because it's a climate issue.
Right.
And then somewhere the last couple months, it went from climate to we just need the money.
Of course, it's full of shit, and they know that it's a destructive thing that's very politically unpopular. That's why they shelved it. She took executive action, Hochul, to shelve it before the election.
Right.
During the election.
Before we go into the next topic, my question is: you have to make a choice: subway or bike. What are you doing? It's 20 degrees outside.
How far am I going?
You're going 20 blocks. It's windy.
I don't like this.
It's windy. The cold air is hitting you.
I mean, I'm a New Yorker. I grew up on the subway. I grew up going everywhere on the subway. It's a stressful situation now, and I don't like getting stressed out. I haven't. So the answer is, I'm probably walking that.
You're gonna no. Hold on, no.
That's not a choice?
No, it's not a choice. It's bike or subway. There's no walking choice.
Well, I guess I'll take a subway maybe. But I don't like but that's the thing. Like they're forcing us into choices. Like the subway should be and is the most efficient way. Except it's become such a white knuckle ride. The kind of stuff you see on that and have to deal with.
I think it's more convenient to take the bike than the subway. To be honest with you, you hop on the bike.
Yeah.
You go. You drop it off at the somewhere close to where you're going, right?
Yeah.
And then that's it. The subway,
Right.
You got to walk to the subway.
Yeah.
If you're not close to it, could be a walk.
Mm.
Then if you're going, depending on where you're going, you got to transfer, right? Subways don't run on time, so you got to walk down the stairs. You got to wait.
I drive a lot in the city, and these Uber drivers, it's crazy, right? Because they're driving. We don't let people drink and drive. These Uber drivers are driving around. They don't know which avenue goes which way, what's up or down, and they're not even looking at the road. They're looking at their iPhone.
Well, they're looking at the iPhone because they have
Right.
the map on there.
Well, that's right, but so they're not looking ahead of them. So I
Right,
don't
so-
want to be on a bicycle with these guys zipping around. At least if I'm in my car and they tap me, I feel better. On the bike, it's more dangerous.
Right. Okay. Now, this all ties into my next topic. I think it's my next topic. Let me just check my notes. Yeah. The next topic is Hochul, Kathy Hochul, governor of New York. We were just talking about her, the congestion pricing.
Can't stand her.
She had a conversation yesterday with President Donald Trump about they were talking about the congestion tolls.
Oh, really?
Right.
Waiting for him to jump in on this.
So it's interesting because they didn't really get into the specifics about what was spoken, but it was that was the topic. Now, he's got the ability to freeze federal funding if he wants to New York. Now, what do you have here? You have Hochul, who is against the getting rid of the illegals for the ICE to come in. She's fighting with him on that. You have that going on, that situation, okay? Then you have the congestion tolls, which also New Jersey people are not happy. New York, nobody's I don't
happy
know.
about
I
it.
don't know anyone that's happy about it except some moron.
Unhappy people are happy about it.
Yeah, except some moron that's just in his apartment picking his nose,
Exactly.
saying, "Oh, but the cars are I don't want these out of towners." Who completely
They
doesn't
don't-
understand what's going on, or deliveries or anything, or repairs and how much that all costs. Nobody understands anyway. So, is the conversation like this, Kathy? Look, you want federal funding? You want us to help with the mess that you guys made? The amount of New Yorkers that fled New York because of your policies. So now you have a deficiency on taxes that you can collect. Okay, so you have that issue. You have a sanctuary city, okay? And now you have the congestion tolls. So if you want this funding, you're going to have to do something for me. Right? What is she going to do? Okay? One, we already see that ICE is coming in. Is she going to help out with ICE? Is she going to help out with the deportation to get that money? Or is she going to say, is she going to say, listen, the congestion tolls, I'm willing to get rid of it if you're willing to help us with our MTA.
Don't forget about salt, right? Salt tax.
So-
another thing that's another chip on the table.
Well, so from what I'm hearing is a lot of Republicans down in DC have been, and Trump's friends have been in his ear about bringing that back.
Right.
Okay. I think he's going to bring it back.
I think look, New York and all the states, right? They're in New York because of these wild policies that they put in. They end up needing a lot of bailout from the federal government.
Right.
A lot. States and the federal government work back and forth, and there's always a negotiation. Illegal immigration. You've seen Adams. He's fighting for his political life. You've seen Hochul. Hint at some cooperation when Trump first got in. I don't know how much, if that goodwill extended has made it this far, 12 days in or whatever. But you got these different chips. I am cynical about whether or not they remove the congestion tax once they get it. The income tax was supposed to be a temporary program. Once they get a tax in or price increase set, it's very difficult to
Right.
get that
Once you get
come
the
back.
increase and you get an increase, it doesn't matter what it is, whether it be the veal on the restaurant menu that went from $30 to $60, they're not bringing that back. Or it be Con Edison or PSE&G increasing your electric bill because, hey, gas or electricity became more expensive. But guess what? Those prices came down.
Right.
But they didn't reduce it. So so once they start introducing something and they see the amount of people that are paying and they basically give or take, are they going to get rid of it? I don't think so.
To me, it's such an easy political pickup for Trump to come in and use his influence to come out really strong against the congestion tax. I think that the people, a lot of people it hurts. Like you talk to waiters at restaurants, you talk to people at work that aren't just complaining about the extra $4 on the Uber. It's taking a material. They're taking a material hit. Like they that people that do drive in. And I mean, you saw the fire department was saying that they're telling their firefighters to not or to park outside of the rim. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Right, you had the fire one that you saw the video of the
Right.
one fire guy skateboarding down
Right,
in,
and
in his
and,
fatigue.
it's never the last, right? Like in London, they had the congestion tax, and then they have the electronic vehicle tax. I mean, they just keep adding them on. And it's like they point to metrics like traffic is down. Like traffic is down means revenue is down, meaning like it's like it's not that revenue line item doesn't just exist. It goes down. Things are
The guy in the
nothing
garage
exists in a vacuum.
The guy in the garage told me that he saw a 60% decrease in people parking.
Right, and so people like the nose pickers would say, less traffic, and I, that parking garage who employs people is making less revenue, and maybe that parking garage attendant will be fired.
Well, I've already seen there used to be 2 to 3 guys on a shift. Now I'm seeing 1 to 2.
And by the way, your expense to park there is going to go up.
Of course, it already went up. They raised it.
There you go. So I mean, it's like nothing exists in a vacuum, and they focus on one small part of it, which is just the bullshit they use to try and push it forward. But that's it. And once they have it in place, and they knew it because they took it away during the election, and then they put it back on despite it. And the way that they put it back on, if you remember, we're gonna save you money was the quote from Hochul.
Right, we're saving you
because
money.
We're not gonna also include the additional 25% hit on gridlock days, or some bullshit.
No, originally I think it was supposed to be 12 and change, and then she brought it down to 9. So she's like, "I'm saving you money."
Right, she's an asshole.
The schematics.
These people are terrible.
The other thing, what she's doing now, I don't know if you saw this today in the Post. And again, I think this has to do with what she spoke about with Trump and with what's happening with New York. And New York now has this black eye as it's dangerous. Okay. And when it's dangerous and it has that stigma of being dangerous, it's bad for business. And Hochul right now, somebody's in her ear. 100% someone's in her ear, because what she did today was she's talking to all the prosecutors about how all these criminals are getting off so easy, and how there's like little what's the word? Like little things. They get off on little things. So if you're getting off, maybe they couldn't get the evidence within 30 days or something. Technicalities, that's what it is. Technicalities. So you get off on that. So they're releasing them. That's bullshit.
Well, there's also the bail reform.
The bail reform, right? That's bullshit. That's not what it is. It's because the prosecutors like Bragg, Leticia James, all these far to the left, they're causing it.
Yeah.
You want crime to go down in New York? You get rid of those people.
They're radicals.
That's it. You get rid of them.
Before. I mean, you don't need to reinvent the wheel, right? I mean, when Giuliani took power, it was 30 years of these types of politicians running things. Anybody that is born way after that can go and watch movies like Taxi Driver, Death Wish. I mean, that was New York, and Giuliani came in and it went from pimps and hookers on the street in Times Square. He put Disney there.
Right.
So I mean, they don't have to go reinvent the wheel.
Saving Grace. You ever see Saving Grace?
Oh yeah,
that's a great movie. I mean, Hell's Kitchen. Saving Grace was about Hell's Kitchen, how they used to burn down Hell's Kitchen.
Yeah. I mean, and broken windows works. So you have the roadmap. There's an element of it I think that's cyclical but this was not organic. I mean, like I always think about the graffiti in New York.
Right.
They got rid of the graffiti. I mean, New York, one of the iconic things would be like the graffitied up subways. That's how people recognize New York, like in a black and white Polaroid.
Yeah.
And it was gone,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you think about it, like for 20 years, there just wasn't graffiti in New York on the main streets. Like certain places, yeah, but not in the subways, not on 3rd Avenue, Lexington. And it's not like the graffiti artists died or went somewhere else or stopped doing graffiti. It's that they understood culturally there was this buy-in. Like, yeah, you don't do that in New York anymore. Now, then it came back,
It's back now.
right? And it's like, if you think about how hard it is to effectuate culture, I mean, the job that Giuliani and his people did was amazing, and it's been so aggressively attacked by these people, and then it's just described as like an organic thing. It's not. I mean, when you're offering prepaid credit cards to people to come here illegally, and that's the message you're sending. When you're letting out people that attack police officers and then give the finger to people on their perp walk, as then they're let out and given a bus ticket, the message you're sending is, game's on, have fun, have at it.
Right, have at it.
And, again, you go back to taxes. Like, where is the return on my fucking investment? Like,
Right, we're paying the taxes. The New Yorkers are paying taxes, and you have to worry about walking down the street
Yeah.
or somebody breaking into your apartment, your car.
And if you're a cop, you got to be crazy to police right now. Like, if you're
mean,
approach somebody doing something.
Well, the past couple of years, since COVID, I barely see any real police. I see only the ticket people, which are not real police. I've actually yelled at them. I've actually yelled at the ticket maids, whatever they. I'm like, you're not a real cop. Go fight. What? What are you talking about? And they're all from, like weird places.
And now they've got. By the way, is it New York that they were doing the illegal immigrants, giving them that job?
Yes, they're giving. It was.
I thought it was the parking. Like,
no, not parking. They were directing traffic.
Can you imagine?
The illegals they gave the jobs to the illegals. They were, and I saw this. They were wearing vests.
Yeah.
They were wearing these like fluorescent greenish yellow vests.
Yeah.
And they would tell you, you can't come into this lane, or you have to turn, or this street's closed. And you're like, who the fuck are you?
Right.
You're not a cop.
They're just causing more traffic.
They're causing more traffic. And then you see these meter maids walking around giving tickets. But if there's a crime or anything, if you call the police, they're not
you
coming.
You don't see cops when you walk up like Madison Avenue now at night. Or any park, like the East Side, you could walk from 57th to 96th. You used to see a cop car like every 5 blocks because the presence was there. You felt it.
You felt it.
You don't anymore. It's true. And that's big. Like people don't feel like there's any consequence out there. And I grew up in the 80s. There were neighborhoods you didn't go to, or when you were there, you understood to be, more aware.
You don't go to the Bowery.
Right. Back in the, and I mean, like alphabets, like, you understood that when you were in certain places, you got to be more aware. That went away, right? I mean, when Giuliani was here, it was like people could leave.
Yeah, now you want to go to Bowery.
And like girls in mini skirts with big, nice earrings could walk around looking at their phone at 3 a.m. and not think of anything. Those days are gone. And it's sad because it's not organic. It's really the result of these insane policies put in place by the city council, and it's intentional, right? Because city council is where all these things are really effectuated. But do you know when the city council elections are?
No.
Who has any idea? And it's like nobody in America. The turnout for local elections is minuscule, right? Like the mayor of New York gets like 800,000 votes. Nobody shows up, and it's counterintuitive because you walk out and you're worried about getting raped or stepping over garbage or real quality of life stuff, but yet you don't attach it to.
A lot of people don't know that the city council is affected. Number one,
that's by design. They don't advertise it.
When is it?
Do national elections.
When is it?
I have no idea. I have no idea when and who or what you can vote for. I have no idea. They don't apparently. And I only brought that up because I was out with my sister yesterday, who ran for city council. Anthony Weiner's back. He's running for city council, and he's going to win. Obviously, Democrat in New York, but it's like they don't advertise it.
I thought criminals aren't allowed to run for office.
Did he?
Yeah, he was sexting a minor.
I guess he's been forgiven.
Can you find out when these elections are?
Yeah.
And I'd also like to know, and I'm sure your sister knows, is how many people voted in the last one.
but it's by design.
So if you get a 800,000, what'd you say, 800,000 for the mayor?
I mean, the mayor gets the mayor of New York, which I think after the president of the U.S., there's few. It's in the top 5 most visible political positions. You know, the mayor of New York is a big spot, right? And still the turnout, but local politics, like always across the U.S., it's a very low turnout. It's not publicized,
Right.
and but if you trace, we're talking about New York. City council is like there's 52 members of New York City Council or something. 49 of them are just, it's not Republican or Democrat. These are radicals. Like that's where defunding the police happens. That's where like the bill to let illegals vote, which Adams pushed through. Also, that's where they took police. The homeless. The police in New York aren't allowed to approach the homeless unless they're standing directly in the way of a commercial business or your home. So if they're in your doorway, obstructing you or a business to people to flow into, but they're not. Otherwise, they're not allowed to approach. The guy, and they have to wait for him to do violence. If he's sitting there barking at people, screaming at people, if he's mentally unstable, they're not allowed to go up to him. They'll have to wait for that guy to actually do violence. That's the result of policies put in place by city council.
It's bizarre.
Oh.
Speaking of Adams, did you see that his team has been talking with the DOJ about probably a pardon? He's definitely getting a pardon.
Yeah, I think. Well, I saw that they're going to drop the charges. I thought.
So are they dropping the charges, or he's getting a pardon?
Yeah, something like that. I think. Yeah, what I think he's. He was on Tucker, right? I think they're talking about him going on Joe Rogan. I think he's worried about Cuomo right now.
He's worried about Cuomo. Look, if it was between him and Cuomo, I'm voting for Eric Adams all day long. There's no chance.
I want
Cuomo's policies. I mean,
but the difference is Cuomo will actually be on the job and he'll be trying to get things done, and he knows how to get it done, and he'll get his
right. But he's getting the wrong things done. I'd rather have somebody that's.
I'd rather have this guy that just wants to look good, have, and then hopefully somebody shows up in the next cycle.
Adam's biggest thing is garbage cans, and the rat czar.
It's crazy.
Cuomo's biggest things is, I'm gonna kill New York.
Yeah, I mean, there's no other way to interpret it. You talk about bail reform, that was Cuomo. You talk about, what that guy did during, COVID, unbelievable.
He shut everything down. He destroyed everything.
Before that, rent stabilization, what he had done. What the banks were carrying on their books, the bail reform, what he did during COVID, with the old folks' homes, with the policies. It's amazing that guy is now. If you look at the path, if he gets into this race, into the mayor's race, you got it. You think then there's a group of people that have been sitting around a table talking about him for 28. I'm sure, as a candidate for the presidency.
Yeah. Well, I think that is the stepping stone. He needs to become the mayor to show that he's willing, that he's able to lead,
right,
and show that hey, I'm here. I'm going to be a great mayor. Look what I've done. Maybe this is the step. Maybe Hochul's signaling, look, and we know she doesn't like Adams. So maybe she's signaling, look, we need to start doing this so that when Cuomo comes in and he becomes mayor, he could turn around and say, I did this.
Well, he'll have, he has it. And look, it's like when he gave that speech about New York tough. When he was New York tough, the streets were running wild, man. They were hiding homeless in the subways. They had, he had shut. They were doing all kinds of madness. He was shoving old folks into homes and throwing away the key. The guy was.
But people have short-term memory, and people are going to forget about that. And he speaks very well.
But they could frame him up great.
Right, they're going to frame. They're going to frame him well.
He presents well.
Presents well. They're going to push him. The money's behind him.
Right.
They know that he can play ball with what they want to do, the elites. And he's going to come in and he's going to say, look, here's what I've done for New York. Now, I'm willing to do the same for the country. Yeah. And I'm going to run in 2028.
Look, Newsom,
for president.
Kamala.
Kamala,
It'll be
Newsom,
some crew.
Newscomb, Kamala, him. Who else is going to run for president from the other side? We don't know yet. It's so far out. But
I think you got
Hakeem Jeffries,
Hakeem Jeffries.
you got him.
Well, there's this push still for Kamala. Cuomo, Newsom will be in there. He's always in there. I mean, could you imagine that guy? Talk about no return on your investment. Fire burning down. Yeah, it's a problem. It's a big problem.
Yeah. All right, that's it.
That's it.
We're done today.
We're done.
We're done. So please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, if it's still around.
Citizen Outbreak.
We're at Citizen Outbreak, citizenoutbreak.com. Please buy our game.
And Apple, right? Spotify.
Spotify and Apple. Please, follow us. Watch our video on YouTube's. Tune in. We'll be back next week for more. And that's it. Thank you very much.
All right.